Welcome back, everyone, to Lesser Known Operators. I'm your host, Nicholas Allen, and my guest today is JJ Pinter. JJ is a former field artillery officer, a West Point graduate, and is now the current deputy director at Team RWB, Team Red, White, and Blue. Main focus of today's episode was to talk about the GWOT 100, which is a remix of the formerly named Taji 100. All you Global War on Terrorism veterans might recognize that. That'll be going on all of the month of February. Description in the full episode. I'll have links to Team RWB and his socials in the show descriptions. As always, today's episode is brought to you by the Precision Wellness Group and Dr. Taylor Bosley. Precision Wellness Group helps you restore balance, unlock vitality, and fuel your momentum through bioidentical hormone therapy and evidence-based personalized telemedicine. Dr. Taylor Bosley is a board-certified physician, a U.S. Army veteran, and a former Green Beret. He knows where you've been, where you want to go, and how to get you there. And he's an actual doctor that can prescribe you actual medicine. It's a bonus. So if TRT, HRT, hormones, testosterone, peptides are something you've been thinking about for a while now, or just looking into, look no further than Precision Wellness Group and Dr. Taylor Bosley in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Walk in person, and telemedicine. Use code LKO20 on your initial consultation paperwork to save 20% on said consultation. Get your supplements for the gym at alphaeliteperformance.com. Use code LKO15 at checkout to save 15% on your order. I recommend the Pipe Hitter pre-workout and the creatine. Works for me. It'll work for you. I do appreciate you guys. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, comment, pass these episodes along. Thank you for listening. Thank you for a great year. Truly, thank you. Enjoy the show. JJ Pinter, welcome to Lesser Known Operators, man. Thanks for coming on.
Man, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's so humbling. It's an honor for people to reach out to me and ask to come on the show. And I hate telling people no. And you'll be our second Team Red, White, and Blue guest. The first, Michael Sullivan. Shout out to Sully over there. Is now in charge, large and in charge over there. He seems like he's having a great time. He seems like he's having a ball.
Yeah, so I met Sully transactionally back in like maybe 2012, 2013. He was a major at the time and he started the Fort Bragg chapter. And I had just started working at Team RWB. And so I met him, I didn't really know him, but I kind of knew of him. And then he kind of got back into his military capacity for the next 10 years. And then he has since retired and comes to work for us now. So I've gotten to know him really deeply. You know, he's my boss. And then we just did this thing called the Old Glory Ultra Relay earlier this spring, and which I think he talked to you about. But the consequence was that he and I lived together for we shared a car together and we shared a hotel room for like a month. Like I was not farther than 5 feet away from him for a month, so I got to know him really deeply.
Yeah, I was messaging him occasionally during that, and it was fun to watch and fun to have him on. And then I had Johnny Glenn on as well too, right before he went on. So I was making a few reels here and there.
Yeah,
But
JMFG,
that,
he was one of our runners.
yeah, what a project! I mean, I just drove
Johnny or
around the United States. No, the whole thing, the whole event. Yeah, Johnny's intense, but he's he's figured out what he wants to do and his attitude. He's got his attitude and his mind in the right spot. So he's all in.
We have not to talk about the relay too much, but it was all veterans that were involved with that, and people from all levels of the military, from the kind of tippiest tip of the spear all the way down to folks who just kind of did one enlistment, and we all universally agreed that it was the most logistically complicated thing we've ever been involved with.
Oh no, I just drove from Wisconsin 12,500 miles around the United States by myself and with my dog, and nightmare. I was exhausted, cranky, all the hours, food, everything. The dog really held the whole thing together. But yeah, you guys, when I went through Bentonville, because I think you guys went by UHP as well. I was like, oh, they went through here with the whole. And I'm going down. I was going down this back road in northern Arkansas. And I was hauling ass like a roller coaster, and I'm going, Oh, you gotta slow down. There's maybe somebody running with a flag through here.
That was some of the most
Like
dangerous parts of the entire thing because to your point,
the
it's
roads were like
down.
this.
People will haul ass and there's like no cell service. So we would lose contact with the flag. We wouldn't know where it was. It made things complicated. So the TTP, if we want to use that language here, was you had to stay, a vehicle would stop on the hilltop with its flashers on until the runner kind of went down and came back up so that so cars could see it. Then you'd pull forward to the next hilltop and stop on the hilltop with your flashers on, protect the runner.
Oof. Yeah, because I was legitimately thinking because I was going way too fast, but there's nobody out there, and I said this has to be dangerous because I knew you guys went right past that place where
We
I was
did, and
driving
at
through.
like 3 o'clock in the morning too. People really don't think they're going to encounter someone running a flag all hours of the day because we never stopped.
Well, yeah, and there's not much you can really do because I didn't have cell service for like 2 hours. My wife's left me messages. Where are you? So I'm in the boonies. You know, I'm, in, I'm out in the land where they play the banjo and drink out of jugs and stuff. So no, but it's cool. That was a cool thing to watch. I hope it worked out well for you
It was
guys.
awesome.
You look back on it and go, God, that really. Because, like I said with my road trip, I look back. I said, man, I didn't know it was going to be this hard. I was a realist and I thought it was going to be hard, but you must have encountered so many things where you go, I didn't think this would happen. This is ridiculous.
Well, we had done the Old Glory Relay, which is a different format, but it is a cross country event like 7 times. So I think I kind of knew what we were getting into. And we knew how hard it was going to be, but we didn't know kind of exactly when or how. And that's why we knew if we had when we picked the runners, we did not pick the fastest runners. We picked the people that we thought were going to be the best teammates and the most adaptable because we knew it was just going to be constant like changes. Um, at the beginning, I was talking to Sarah, I was like, you want to take bets on how long till there's a fist fight we have to break up? Just because we knew that was good at the kinds of people that were involved with this, that was likely going to happen. And it almost did happen, but luckily, no. Um, yeah, it was hard. I'll tell you, it was great though, because I got a chance to see the country in a way that you don't, 5 miles an hour through small towns, because we were trying to stay away from the highway. You get a chance to see the country in a way that you typically don't. And that was awesome. It like really kind of recharges your batteries on like being an American.
It's an hour from coast to coast. That's intense.
That's what it was.
Wow. Oof.
But you
And
can
now
do
you
it.
guys are
If you're
geared.
wondering, you could do it if you're running 745 miles, you could do it in 16 and a half days. It's exactly how long it takes.
No, I'm good. I'll pass. You guys can keep that one. I'll stick to my 1 or 2 miles every other day on the treadmill, and I'll be just fine. I'll be just fine. So, how often are you guys doing big events like that? Or because that's a big undertaking that takes a lot of planning. Now you're going virtual with this next one, the GWOT 100, right?
Yeah, the the meat and potatoes of Team RWB is not that. The meat and potatoes is our chapters in our events that are happening, tens of thousands of events that are small and local that are happening. But we do layer on some big events, typically about one a year, something like that. And yeah, so I'd say probably about one a year are we doing something big. The Old Glory Ultra Relay is the biggest thing we've ever done. That was not, that was never. And then this event is big as well. Kind of something that we do, which is maybe not optimal, is we don't ever give ourselves long enough to plan these things. Right? So
There's
it's
no, there's no need for it. There's no need. If you're gonna plan yourself to death. That's what I've really honed in on in civilian life. Is there's no need. Like, just go and because it's all gonna be fucked up anyway. Because I'm not really adapted to this, but I can figure it out. Right? I'm gonna be able to figure the shit out. So just come up with a framework and go. That's I've found is the best.
Well, I had a guy, I briefly, after I left active duty, I was a medical sales rep for a while, and the company I worked for hired a bunch of veterans. So I had a ton of veterans that I worked with, and one of my boss at the time, was this guy named, he was a Ranger Regiment guy, he's a guy named Pat. I won't use his last name, but he would always talk about training. He's like, training can be 2 weeks, training can be 6 months. it'll be as long as you want it to be. At some point, you got to get into a doctor's office and actually start doing the job. So you might as well just do it after 2 weeks and start doing it, right? And I've taken that, like, if you got 6 months, it's going to take 6 months. If you give yourself 18 months, it's going to take 18 months. Just like, let's just do it. It's kind of full send, and that's what we typically do here at Team RWB, and so it makes things exciting.
Yeah. How long have you been with Team RWB?
Since the very beginning. So Team RB was started by a friend of mine, and I was a volunteer initially. 'Cause- and then I was the second employee, which we can. It's actually an interesting kind of special operations story. So the first executive director was a guy named Blaine Smith, and he was in Third Special Forces Group. He was my roommate in college, and actually, yeah, his name is publicly announced. So it's Blaine. Um, the founder, his name is Mike Irwin, it's well known. Mike was an S2 in one of the battalions at Third Group, and they got to know each other really well on a couple deployments. And Mike came back and was going to grad school and was having just a really tough time. They offered tough deployment to Afghanistan. And he was having a tough time in grad school, and it kind of that's what the beginning of Team RWB was. That happened in 2010. And when Team RWB, it was initially run by volunteers, so people like me that were running the organization, and it got big enough where we needed a full-time employee. And Mike called Blaine because he was really impressed with them from their time at Third Group together, and Blaine became the first employee and first executive director. And under his leadership, he's an outstanding leader. It started growing really fast, and they knew that they needed more than one person. And so Blaine called me and said, "Hey, we need like an operations guy." And I was at a place in my life professionally where I was ready to not do that anymore. I was like, "Hell yeah, I'll give it a try." And so that's kind of how I came there. So that was in late 2012. And I was like, I told Blaine, like, I'll give you 2 years to kind of help get this thing off the ground. And then I got to go back to the real world. Well, that was 13 years ago, and I still work here. So it's been exciting and terrifying, to say the least. Kind of growing a business from nothing to a pretty substantial sized organization,
Quite terrifying.
because the terrifying part is the fundraising side of it, right? So we get to a point where we have like 30 some employees now, and those people all rely on us to support their families, and they're all veterans or military family members. And the terrifying is, like, how do we invest in the organization and bet on ourselves, knowing that we always are constantly having to fundraise? You basically spend half the time in the nonprofit world raising money and half of it like spending the money on programs. So it's terrifying making investments and bets. If you just have a 1 year view of the world, like, you're never going to grow. So you're making investments with dollars that you don't necessarily have yet. I mean, that's the terrifying part.
Yeah, that is stressful. That's the one thing I didn't like about sales is every month. It's an every month thing. Everything resets.
It,
That's the
it, it
part I
resets, and it's different with us, right? Where it's like, I've done medical sales, so like I know what that's like. But with us, every penny we have was given to us by someone. Someone gave us every penny, and I take great, um, like, I want to be able to look anyone in the eye and tell them how we're spending their money and be proud of it, right? So we're very frugal, but every dollar is given to us by a person or by a business. And so that I think is also, just adds to the pressure of wanting to like really do a good job for people, because they believe in you enough to give you their money.
It is satisfying though having a event. I planned a golf outing and I had a pretty good team, and but I did way, way, way too much of it myself.
Yeah.
And but when it was over, that was a lot of fun, and you feel good. Then the whole thing, I had no. Not only did I have no idea what I was doing, I had no clue how to do any of it except for golf, and that's the only thing I didn't do that day was golf. And it was fun at the end. Going, at least everybody had a good time. Everybody had a good time, and everybody was happy. And I we got it off. Made quite a bit of money for the foundation, but it was holy shit! What a stressful 2, 3, 4 weeks in the end there.
That's one of the things that I love about working for a small business and honestly for a nonprofit. Like I'll never go back to work for a big business again because you're constantly doing things you don't know anything about, right? It's like, hey, we're doing commercial real estate now. Guess I need to learn about commercial real estate. Oh, hey, we're doing a merger and acquisition. I guess I better learn a little bit about acquisitions. Like you're always kind of doing these new things and you never get bored because it's a small team and you just kind of figure stuff out.
Yeah. Like with this, um, my challenge, my lately, it may not seem like to anybody, but man, I just cannot get my lighting figured out where I'm happy with it. And I'm watching lighting videos and trying to interpret what they're saying and things like that. But that's just one thing, and then I got to worry about something else. And a new program will come out, and I'm just like, is this better than what I'm using now? And interviewing people. Then I get to interview people, and everybody's got a different story. You know, they're generally the same, but everybody's got this different story of how they got to where they were. And it's so much fun having these variations in people and hearing how they overcame different things. And I get to take in all their stories and their information, and I get to be the historian, the librarian for lesser known operators, and that's all a fun part of it too. Because you're right, being bored sucks. That's why I tell people special operations why it's so easy is because all you gotta do is work your ass off, and that's easy, working your ass off. Being bored and not having a purpose or something to conquer, that sucks. That's what really kills people.
Yeah, I just a really good family friend of ours. He's this kid is a high school senior, or he graduated from high school. I saved him from a Buds contract, and he is graduates from OSIT on next Tuesday, and then he's gonna go to RASP like on January 7th, like right after the beginning of the holidays. And I was talking to him about this. I kind of like helped him train to get ready for this. And I was like, the Army is the easiest job in the world. You literally just have to do what people tell you. Like, if you just do what people tell you, like, and keep your mouth shut, you'll be successful. I promise you. It's like super easy in that regard, you know?
Yeah, the right place, right time, right uniform. That was what they told me at my first unit. You just NCO out there. You just gotta show up. You don't even have to do anything. You don't even have to be good at it. If you show up, right place, right time, right uniform, you're gonna make E6,
Yeah.
no matter what.
And don't cause
No
problems for
matter what.
people.
Don't.
100%.
And then, man, people would just get kicked out because they couldn't do that. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Uh, the
Yeah.
it's all right. The army is what it is. It has all levels of folks, and that's okay too. I just could not. I was not content. When I'm in my right state of mind, I'm not content doing nothing. I have to be doing something. I have to be busy. But hopefully we can get into something I can enjoy. And that's I think when most people get out, they lose their purpose. And we say these things over and over again on the show and in content and things. Everybody loses their purpose. Well, it's because we still have this big epidemic, this issue that we're all trying to solve. So a lot of our content starts sounding the same. And are you guys dealing with support, or is it more like what do your programs look like, the majority of them at Team RWB?
What we do is so simple, and that's what I feel like it works so well. So if you think about the negative outcomes that you hear about in the veteran space, right? Like the wheel of horrors, right? It's like,
Yes, that is my section of the market is those bad things and talking about them.
yeah, so the bad thing. So I would argue that in almost every instance, those things are an outcome. They're a result of a failed transition, right? Um, some people come into the military with some challenges, right? Clearly, but in almost all those instances, there's someone and the transition, those things take a long time, right? Sometimes, it can take years and years and years. And so, but often they're health related, right? Physical or mental health, uh, that will kind of lead to some of these like larger challenges down the road. So what we do is super simple. Like we try to keep we try to keep that from happening to them by working on their physical health and mental health, right? Most veterans gain a ton of weight when they get out of the military. They stop working out because the Army makes PT or the military I guess the other branches ostensibly do PT, but at least in the Army, they make it really unfun to do PT, right? And so people don't want to work out when they get out. So and like those things have effects on your physical health and your mental health. So like what we do is super simple. We provide opportunities for veterans and their families to stay healthy around the country. Like the beauty is in the simplicity. Something like 86% of veterans are overweight or obese.
Oh, that can't be. Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh,
And so think about that. Not only its effects on your physical health, but how that affects people mentally, right? You don't feel good, things start to hurt, you get depressed, you may or may not have success finding a job that is mission oriented or that you like, like all these things, you're not around your bros anymore, like they all add up. And so that's why like it's just so simple. This is why CrossFit was so popular for a lot of years. Like honestly, what happened at a CrossFit gym is not like my high school football coach had us doing that. Like it's not fancy. They packaged up community in a way that was really meaningful to people for a while, I would argue, right? So people would go because they felt like they were part of a community and they met
yeah.
friends there. Like that's what was being sold, I think. And then that has obviously changed, but for a period of time, it's like that. It's the camaraderie, it's the shared hardness, it's like all those things. Like that's what made it so popular, I think.
Yeah, CrossFit is. I'll go sometimes. Shout out to CrossFit Syndicate in Waterford, Wisconsin, the cleanest CrossFit gym that there is in existence, and I love those guys over there.
Yeah, we have a guy
I
on our
don't
team.
train.
We have a guy on our
I don't
team,
train CrossFit, but
Ben, who's a former Marine Bray who owns one of the best CrossFit it's in Tampa, Florida. It's called Cigar City CrossFit. It's one of the best CrossFit gyms I've ever been to.
I think I looked it up when I was there, but I don't think I went. But no, I like CrossFit. I don't train CrossFit. I like being a little bit stronger. And that doesn't work for me. The programming sometimes would drive me so nuts. But the gym was right next to where I used to work, so it was too convenient. So that's where I was every day because you can't get closer than 1 minute from your job. So it was unbeatable. But I will say, CrossFit's not the most ideal programming, things like that, but it has done more for fitness than anything else in the history of fitness. It got more people into the gym than anything else. And you're right, it's that community sort of
I
thing.
think it is. I think it's the community that they built, right? And so people made friends there and they hung out there and they made it social. And for a period of time, there was this sense of equity where it was like everyone is doing the same thing,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
You might, it might, you might be RX plus and I might be RX minus or whatever, but we're doing the exact same exercises and the exact same amount of reps. And you know what I mean? It's together. And then I would argue that they kind of messed it up with the CrossFit Games because they started splitting people off, right? And it's like, oh, the competitors are over here and like everyone else is over here. And that kind of messed that sense of community up would be my argument. But the community, not to like talk too much about CrossFit, but like the
No, you're good.
community is what's important. And I think that's kind of what we do, right? It's like it's almost doesn't matter what the exercise is. Like we're not trying to make people Olympic athletes. We're just trying to keep them healthy, right? So we want to take veterans, we want to put them together with other veterans and supportive members of the community, keep them active. Like it's very simple, but it works really well.
And that you've obviously been there the whole time. Has that been this framework for the entire time for what you guys have been doing?
Yeah, our mission hasn't really changed. The operating environment has changed some. Like when I first got there, we were still, fighting wars on two fronts, right? So it was it was a lot more focused on like people coming back from deployment and getting them, you know, kind of decompressed and back injected into society around them. That obviously, I guess we're maybe like one tactical nuke away from that happening again. But as of right now, we're not doing that anymore. So it's a different operating environment. So that's changed a little bit. Um, but yeah, I will say without getting political, like this kind of make America healthy again movement is like we've been saying that for 10 years. Like being healthy is important. exercise is really good for your mental health. It's good for depression and some of these like being healthy and not being overweight. Um, like we've been saying that for years, and I think like the rest of the world is kind of starting to talk in that way now, which is great. So that's been good. But yeah, our mission hasn't changed. The operating environment has changed a little bit. Obviously, like the world has changed with technology. We were just a completely in-person, chapter-based local forever, and we have a pretty robust virtual component now. So it's like we've struggled internally with how do we weave together doing stuff in person? We would argue the gold standard is you come do something with other people, exercise I'm talking about, outside. That's like the gold standard. But doing something, we don't have a chapter in Kenosha, Wisconsin, right? So it's like, so for people who aren't active at all, doing something virtual is better than nothing, right? So how do we weave together the virtual and the in-person in a way that's complementary? Like that's kind of has changed a lot because virtual wasn't a thing back then. And COVID kind of made the world virtual. And so just kind of working through that. But we're an in-person organization. We want to get people together in person.
Uh, I would have a tough time getting a chapter going here. We're not the healthiest of states,
Right.
but
Well,
it's
honestly, you know, that has been, I grew up in Michigan, small town Michigan. I know what it's like. So the places you would think like Austin, Texas, or cool places like that, that's actually the hardest place because there's already cool stuff to do. You take places like Toledo, Ohio, where there's not a lot of cool stuff to do. That's actually where we have like the most success because you're giving people
yeah,
an opportunity where there isn't one. Whereas like you go to Austin or some cool fit city like Miami, like there's already a million exercise related things
so
to
much.
do.
There's so much to do there. You can
Yeah.
even go work out on the beach, which I got to do, which was pretty cool. So what you said, you brought up the virtual. Now this GWOT 100, this is all virtual. And what's the basis behind that, and how did you guys come up with that?
Yeah, this is super cool. So there was an organization called the Taji 100. And Camp Taji is a city in Iraq. It used to be called Camp Cook, but it was a fob that's just a little bit kind of northeast of Baghdad. I was actually there for about 6 months. And there was an event that started there in the mid 2000s where some people who were there just wanted to like blow off steam and they started running and they came up with the challenge. You could there was a couple mile kind of track that you could run like by the wire basically. And they came up with the challenge to run 100 miles in the month of February in the shortest month. And there was a guy who was there named Paul Fukima, and he came back and basically started an organization to do this back home. And for 15 years, they ran this organization called the Taiji 100, and it was a challenge where people would move 100 miles in the month of February, and we were always part of it at Team RWB, and it was great. Our members loved it, and they would raise money to support veterans organizations, and we were one of the organizations they supported. After 15 years, I think they were just kind of ready to move on to the next thing. And so they retired the organization and we had the opportunity to work with them to kind of roll it forward. But they wanted to retire the Taiji 100 event. And so we basically took the framework from it and evolved it into a new event called the GWOT 100, which I think is super cool and interesting. So in its bones, it's still the same. You got to move 100 miles in the month of February, and we talk like about how you do that. But what's different about it is it's a very heavy storytelling event that is based off geographic regions. So the first 3 years we're doing Iraq, and we're doing in 2026 we're doing the Sunni Triangle region of Iraq. Then we're going to go to southern Iraq, then northern Iraq, and we're telling deep diving stories of the battles and the FOBs and the people and location of what's going on. And everything is intentional, right? So as you're going through your 100 miles, for example, when you get to 8 miles, you'll earn a kind of a badge in your profile that says 8 miles. But instead of just getting 8 mile badge, you're going to get a Route Irish badge. And you're going to see videos of Route Irish, which is, if people don't know what Route Irish is, it's this road that connects the Green Zone in Iraq to Baghdad International Airport, or BIOP, or Camp Victory is what people call it. It's 8 miles, and for a period of time, it's the most dangerous road in the world. super, super sketchy. Just IDs galore, right? And so, okay, you're an 8 mile badge. We story tell around Route Irish, right? Because it's 8 miles long. And so there's a series of badges. So it's really fun and interesting because you get a chance to kind of learn about a region and what happened in that region, and then we'll move on to the next region. And if you finish it, you get a medal that is like a jigsaw puzzle piece that's like there's like a portion of the country of Iraq, and then if you do the first 3 years, you'll get all three of them. And you kind of earn this big display worthy uh, thing of Iraq. Then we're going to move on to Afghanistan, and we're going to do RC North and East and South and West, and again like really deep diving on the storytelling. So it's just it's good because it's February. It's a great way to kind of get people out and get people active, but it's also it's like really been this idea of telling stories, like really deep, not surface level, but deep diving stories from these different geographic areas has really been resonating with people.
So I never got to go to combat. I never went, never deployed, got hurt, got medically retired before we went. So I'm pretty, in my mind, disconnected from the whole place. I know videos and intel and all this other things and stories and things like that, but I have no on the ground reference. So how do you feel about these events that pop up that highlight these deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan and pay homage to what you guys did and went through when you went over there?
So we've spent Team RWB, the longer answer is that Team RWB has never been an organization just for veterans. It's been an organization for veterans of all eras, and community members. So we have a third of our members are not veterans or military. They are military family members or community members. So when we decided to do this event, one of the big discussions we had was we don't want this to feel exclusive, right? Like this isn't just for the people who went to these places, right? We want to storytell, obviously, but we want this to be something that everyone is cool for everybody to do. And then also part of what we're trying to do is to really talk a lot about the support that existed around from members of the community, from everybody. And so I love kind of telling the stories, and like what you'll find is that like we don't want this to be super heavy. And so there's a lot of like fun stuff in there. Like we actually have a video that's launching today where we're talking about like things that people were watching on TV at the time. And so there's all this like stupid stuff like it's like One Tree Hill and the OC and like stuff like that you would not expect people to be watching. But we're trying to get people to also like, hey, what were you watching in 2008 or 2006, right? And like try to bring everyone into the conversation because we don't want this to be exclusive, 100%. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of, we've thought a lot about making it not be just something that is only for people who like went to Iraq or whatever, because that's not that many people, honestly.
As a very leadership heavy answer, how do you feel personally about these things?
About events like this,
Yeah.
I love them when they're well done. I don't like them when they're not well done. And I see a lot that in my opinion are not well done. So I've been around the veteran space for a long time. I'll give you like this is not the most non-leadership answer you're going to get. You could, okay, let me take a step back. There's veterans organizations that have been around for a long time, right? The American Legion, the VFW, like DAV, right? They've been around for a long time. And I got a lot of respect for organizations that have hung around for 100 years because that's hard to do, right? But for whatever reason, those organizations didn't resonate with many veterans like of our generation. So people started their own. And there was this huge crop of new organizations in the 2000s from like 2008 to, 20, maybe 5 years after that. There's tons of them. And some of them are good, some of them are not good. Some of them are well run, some of them are not well run. But you used to be able to, fundraising was really easy. You could kind of like find someone who was a disabled veteran, wrap a flag around them, put them on stage and like raise money, right? And so I have seen a lot of that. You can't really do that anymore. Like it doesn't work in that way. But so I don't like it when things are I don't like it when I feel like things are kind of trying to take advantage of people, of veterans, or something I can't stand is this whole like broken victim veteran narrative, right? And I see that a lot, and I can't stand it. I think it does a disservice to you and me and everybody else, because that's not how I feel. And I think it does a disservice to the country, honestly, because like when all the general public hears about is these poor, taken advantage of. If you serve in the military, you're going to come out broken and you can't do anything for the rest of your life. Well, God, like that's not very good for keeping people joining the military, and I don't believe it's true. So I don't like it when people very much lean into that kind of stuff.
We did that. I've thought heavily on the victim narrative, and we did that to ourselves. We created a psyop with what we're doing, with all of these nonprofits that had to pop up and the way that we're fundraising to fill these gaps. It wasn't intentional. We did it ourselves by, we're raising money for homeless veterans. Oh, we're raising money for this person who's got a bilateral, lost their legs and things like that. And like the thing is, planes that land safely don't get any press. So all people are hearing and all we are hearing, and we are the biggest judges of this, we're only hearing bad things coming out of holes in the market. The VA is not taking care of people, veteran suicide, all these things, we're only hearing bad. So we created this psyop against our own selves, and we hate it, but it's a product of what we're trying to do. It's just we're so negative biased that we're only hearing the bad things out of the positive things that we're trying to do, and it's in this feedback loop, and it created and more negative. We're focused in on the bad of the bad, so this big circle on ourselves. A lot of that the veteran community created itself, and it's like this reverberation. It's kind of sad
Here's the
that
worst.
it comes to that.
Here's the worst psyop that happens, I think. I should be clear. This is JJ Pinter talking here. This is not Team RWB's official stance. I just want to be super.
Viewer discretion advised. This is JJ Pinter going off script.
Yeah, this is me going off script because I care about this stuff a lot. And okay, so when people exit the military, there is this, and I should say that like I get all my healthcare at the VA. I'm not here to like shit on the VA because they do a great job for me, right? But what I do want to say is that we have perpetuated this narrative that when you leave the military, the success of your transition is going to be proportional to the amount of benefits that you can get, right? And I do not believe that that is true, and I think the data does not show that to be true. Because here's the psyop part of it. The psyop is your success in the future is a result of not what you do, it's what someone gives you, what the government gives you, right? So not only does it create this entitlement, like I earn and deserve these things, but the more sinister part of it is it puts the onus on somebody else. You can say like oh, I only got 80% instead of 100% or whatever, right? Or like I didn't get into voc rehab or whatever the program is. Whereas, like, at the end of the day, your success, the vast majority of times, is it's based off you and how much effort you put into it. It's not on somebody else. But this narrative, it puts in veterans' minds, it takes the accountability away and it puts it on somebody else. It's like your health. You can't outsource your health. There's nobody that's going to control what you put in your mouth, what you put in your brain, and how you move your body other than you, right? No one else is going to do that for you. But we've been like telling everyone that, oh, you're going to get saved by these benefits or whatever. And it's like, it's not the way it works. And I should be clear. I'm not saying we should get rid of disability or anything. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying the messaging is you're not in charge of your transition, someone else is. And I just think that that's got horrible second and third order effects. The consequences, both intended and unintended, are bad.
So what are you guys doing to counteract that? So well established, well produced events, community, exercise, diet? What else you guys got in there that you guys are doing to help the veterans
Well,
take accountability
I
for
think I would
themselves?
start with, before we get to like what we do, it's like kind of what we believe, right? And so I think
Okay.
if you look at the way we've positioned the organization, at, like, not only are we like super positive, you're not going to see us say anything negative, but we very much lean into you own your own success. Like we make our own luck, right? Like you can't outsource your health. There's nothing more foundational in a person's life than their health. You can't do anything else well if you're not healthy. I would argue, not at least not for a sustained period of time. So you got to get your health right, and no one else is going to do that for you. You have to do it yourself. So there's this accountability that I think we believe in, that we talk about. Now we try to help people with that. Clearly, that's what we do. But at the end of the day, like we do believe that there's some personal responsibility and personal accountability that veterans have in their transition and what happens post life. I tell people this all the time. I'm like, you can't let the 5 years you were in the military in your early 20s be the best thing you do your entire life, right? Like, take those experiences and build and grow on them in the future. You've got another 70 years, maybe, right? That you can do other things. And you have some ownership in that. Like, we can't be 65 years old and talking about what happened when I was 21, right? I get that it affects us, but like we have some ownership in this. So I think the fact that we're an organization that's positive. We're an organization that believes that people have some personal accountability, and we believe in the power of exercise. Like we just think it's really important, and we try to help people do that. And there's a bunch of ways we do that. But I mean, I think some of those things that we believe are really important.
Yeah, the positivity is a big one, especially with what I do. It's very very difficult in the social media sphere to be positive and to have an impact because there is so much attention given towards the negative. So I sympathize with you guys on that one, but it does make you feel a lot better when you're coming from a positive place and you got a smile on your face and you're just like, well, I'm trying my
Mm.
best.
To your point, you're being just like fed negative stuff all the time because that's what people click on, and the more clicks you get, the more ads that people can get sold. It's like, um, I don't like it, but I understand why it happens.
Yeah, people get agitated. You got to get people agitated, get their attention, stop them from scrolling. And people, uh, they like to be, as much as they say they don't, they like to be angry. They like to have something to rally against. Clickbait, all these other things, and one phrase that I've come up with, it's people, whatever people tell you they want to see as far as content isn't what they actually watch. That's there's things aren't the same. They don't line up. So you gotta find a middle ground. But
It's funny. I've always been a big reader my whole life, but I've always been interested in reading stuff that is not necessary. When I say read, I used to read, I listen to audiobooks now, like
love it.
religiously, but I've always been interested in things that were not the things that I was currently doing, right? So, like when I was and I've always been a big fantasy book nerd, so I should say that as well. Like I like pretty stuff as well, science fiction. Like when I was in the military, I had no interest in reading books about the military. I was reading books about entrepreneurship at the time or things like that. And when I first got to Team RWB, I wasn't interested in reading books about, nonprofit leadership. I was reading at the time, I was reading a lot about behavioral psychology, which I think is really interesting because it's this idea that like the things that, or behavioral economics, excuse me, that economics is based off this idea that people are rational and they'll do rational things. Well, people are not rational and they don't do rational things. And so behavioral economics like blended psychology and economics to basically say like, hey, money still does kind of incent or incentives kind of, but people don't do rational things. And there's this core principle in there. It's this idea of stated versus perceived preferences. And it's like, okay, if I if you were to ask me like what kind of movies I like, I might want to sound smart to you, so I might say, you know what, I like indie films or I like documentaries or, I'm going to say whatever I think you want to hear. Those are my stated preferences, but if you were to like look at my Netflix queue, you'd see that I'm like watching Weekend at Bernie's and Old School, right? Like that's what I really like. And so it's like that was something that I took with me. It's this idea like what people say their preferences are almost never what they actually are when you look at their behaviors, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and, finding the middle ground is the tough part, and, with you guys, with the fitness, um, trying to convince people to go do anything is difficult. So, what's the big what's the big draw? Is it the community? Is it the promise of health? Or is it this uh, trying to convince them to get out and that they will feel better? They'll feel better about themselves and their relationships and everything else.
Yeah.
What is the big draw to get them to put on the RWB t-shirt and get outside and get back in part of their community?
Yeah, that's a really good question because it's kind of one of these things where my my old boss used to, because like I'm an engineer by kind of training, and he used to say you can't like logic your way into this with people because people are emotional. Like if someone's overweight, like they know they're overweight. If they're not healthy, like they know that. They don't need to be
I'm
told. You know,
I'm well aware that I'm morbidly obese by the BMI scale, and
yeah.
it affects me every day.
Yeah. Yeah, you probably get taped all the time, I imagine.
So bad, so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, the BMI is like it's like the least worst option, right? Like it's kind of one of these things where like everybody knows it's not that good, but it's kind of directionally accurate, and it's like and it's so all you need is a tape and a scale, to do it. So like it's easy, but
Yeah.
it's everyone knows it's not good. It's not that accurate, but um yeah. No, no. So, but to go back to your question, so for us, it's hard because people often they come to us, I think, when they realize that they need to make a change. Often, you know, and so they'll come to us. We try to talk to people when they're leaving the military and try to say, hey, you're gonna likely, if the numbers play out, you're gonna likely have these challenges in the next 3 years. But people don't really want to listen. Like they're leaving. They like see the land of milk and honey. People are just going to be throwing six-figure jobs at me, and I'm going to be like Scrooge McDuck and Ducktales, like swimming in my, you know, vault of money. And that turns out to not be the case often. But like, you can kind of tell someone that, but they kind of have to experience that themselves. Then they'll come to us later, typically, and yeah, we're just trying to find that place that's in between inspirational and aspirational, if that makes sense. Like, we want people to look at what we're doing and look at our content and say, I could see myself doing that, like inspire them, but not have it be so crazy that they could never think about, like not be so scary that they don't want to get involved, if that makes sense. Like I can aspire to this and be inspired by it, but it's not so out there that I'm just going to completely tune it out because I think I can't do it.
Okay.
The other thing about us is that we're a volunteer organization. Like we're run by volunteers. And so to some extent, people are doing kind of what they're interested in. So our chapters are very different around the country, and they're based off the people who run them. So you're going to see chapters that are more running heavy or rucking heavy or CrossFit or yoga. It's the people who run them have a lot of agency in what they do.
You guys aren't just uh, homegrown events either, too, right? Getting people out. You guys, somebody told me that I think it was Michael DeGrave. You guys do scholarships to send people to UHP and programs like that, correct?
Yeah, we do. So we have a couple of things that we do to get into the meat and potatoes of it. So like at a high level, we are a veterans health and wellness organization, but we don't do we try to stay in our lane with what we do, and we try to not mission creep into other things. But veterans come to us and they have other needs that we don't do. So we have partnerships that we kick people into other places. So probably the biggest one that is really important is we have a partnership with this it's actually the Bush Center. They run this program called Check-In, which is a program. It's a mental health care program. So like if someone comes to us and they need like clinical mental health care or TBI care, we have great partner that we can refer them to, and it will get them into like world-class either brain health or mental health care. That's probably the biggest thing we do in terms of number of people, where we have our members who will have kind of needs that are above what we do, right? Like I would argue that things like depression and anxiety can largely be helped with exercise, but other things cannot. So we refer people there. That's one thing that we do. And we have other partnerships we refer people to. But scholarships is another thing. Yeah. So we have people who either want to work in the fitness space or they want to learn more so they can be a Team RWB chapter leader. So we give scholarships to veterans or currently serving to go. UHP is our biggest partner. So if people don't know what University Health and Performance is, it's this fantastic place in Northwest Arkansas. It's a 500-acre campus and it's like world class. And they have certified fitness trainer certifications. They have integrative health coach, and then I think they're doing a precision nutrition and maybe one more they're standing up this year. So we've had a long partnership with them. So we give scholarships for people to attend those if they don't have the GI Bill. And then we do other types. We do CrossFit we do scholarships for people to go get level 1 and level 2 CrossFit certified. And we're going to be rolling out some opportunities for yoga, potentially, and run coach certifications. So people can get some certifications that are all kind of fitness related. And we hope they go back and, do this in their Team RWB chapter. But if not, like we want to arm people. So those are some of the other things that we do.
As you guys got bigger throughout the years, how difficult was it to stay towards the core mission and not reach out towards shiny new ventures to diversify your guys's, I don't want to say portfolio, but your list of services that you provide? How difficult was that to stay true to what you guys started out as?
It's been hard. But I think we've had people, because Team RWB has been run by veterans the whole time. I think this idea of having like a mission and staying focused on it is something that comes kind of naturally to us. And I think just real pragmatically, we've always been really financially conservative. So we've always had a strategic reserve, and like we've always run just on cash and no lines of credit. So, you know, there's inevitably going to be lean, and there's going to be periods that you're going through time where you have more money and less money. And if you put yourself in a position at those times when things are really lean to be able to not have to chase grants, we call it grant chasing in our world, where you end up doing something that you don't want to do or that's not in alignment with your mission because you need the money. I think we position ourselves to not have to do that, even in the leanest times. Whereas like I think some people maybe they intuitively don't want to do it, but they just get in a position where it's like, shit, I'm not going to make payroll if I don't do something. So guess what? I'm in the job business now, or whatever the thing is.
What would the other areas be that you would chase that wouldn't necessarily line up with what you do already?
So what I see is benefits counseling, and is a big one,
Okay.
right? Where people kind of spin up benefits counselors to help them, you know, increase their disability rating or to change their discharge status from, other than honorable to honorable or something like that. That's one place. Suicide is a tough one because there's a lot of money for veteran suicide that flows in. And the thing
Really?
about suicide is it is it is mathematically impossible to measure a non-event, right? So it's really, really hard to say what programs work and don't work for suicide reduction because you
Oh,
can't
okay,
you
gotcha.
can't measure a non-event, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So so
Yeah.
so intuitively, so in the veteran suicide space, a lot of people will take money and they'll say, "Oh, we're going to do this thing because this thing reduces suicide." And it's like, well, how do you know that?
Yeah, I'll give a quick shout out to an organization that I think does it really well. The Special Forces Foundation has their QRFs, and if you want more information about that, you can reach out to me. Those, I guarantee you, 100% are preventing suicides, and that's a really great thing that they're doing. But yeah, continue. It
Yeah,
is tough. It is tough. It's tough to even talk about, actually.
it is, and there's kind of the one thing where I don't know what they do, but I'm assuming that it's more kind of like sounds like people are in crisis and someone,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a little different than saying teaching a veteran to fly fish is going to reduce suicide, right? Or horse riding or camping or hiking or like that's I think that's more what I'm talking about. Like when we were talking about mission creep, it's not like a someone who's going to step in a crisis situation. It's more like uh, I'm going to take my organization that I started. I'm now going to say that we do suicide reduction clinically and try to get money for it.
Hmm. Interesting. Hmm. There's so many so many ways, so much thing going on over there. And I think some of that feeds into what you said earlier um, with the victim narrative is I think veterans have, because most of the military is bullshit, they can instantly, they might not be able to identify it, but they can kind of sense, they start listening and hearing something and go, this is bullshit, you know. That's and that goes with that of some of these programs and things like that, and that's discouraging as well, where you see companies coming in and taking advantage of the system because it's so easy, or because just they can for money, for financial reasons, and that's a discouraging thing as well, where it sheds a negative light from inside the community as well. So that's kind of disappointing.
Well, another thing that plays into this, well, I'm just like going off the rails here, but
That's all right.
the 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 disability system has been privatized in some way, and that like there's all of these there's firms, law firms specifically, who kind of exist just to help people get like it's like somehow every single person who has served in the military should be 100% disabled. And firms will help you kind of uh, do that. And because there's this economic incentive, and they're talking about incentives earlier, there's now this economic incentive. It's really changed what that whole process looks like, right? And not only is, I think that's not good for a couple reasons. One, I think it's not good because um, it takes resources away from the people who need it the most because everyone is not kind of in the same place from a health perspective when they leave. But two, for the country, it's like financially burdensome to be paying this. And then three, I really do think that there is a psychological effect to this when people start identifying, they lead with the fact that they're disabled, right? In and you think about the things that you're not able to do instead of the things that you are able to do. I do think there's a psychological component to it. There's there's a book, I should find it. It's called Wounding Warriors, and I think it's by a guy named Dan Gade, who is I think he was the first. He's a high hip amputee. I think he was the first amputee to continue on active duty, um, and went on to go to school. And I think the subtitle of the book is how bad policy is making veterans sicker or poorer, sicker and poorer, something like that. And I'm not like plugging his book. I just think it's like really thoughtful and well written. But I think there's second and third order effects to it as well beyond that. So yeah, um, but we're just getting into all the things here. But um,
No, no, it's I lead. You know, you say don't lead with that. I lead with that. I tell people I'm disabled. I'm medically retired, but I do it as like an anti-flex to be like, it's okay, kids. You know, it's okay that you didn't get to do the things you got to do. You got injured. You know, your country asked you to do stuff. You did it, and that's okay too. And for my side of it is people look at me and they go, obviously this guy's not disabled. I say, yes, I am. I got medically retired and I got a lot of concussions, and it's okay. Just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not real. And with me, and the big thing that I talk about is mental health. Mental health isn't real until you tell somebody. And it's okay to tell people. I mean, I have problems I deal with every day, and I'm on this yo-yo of emotions all the time, and it's okay to tell people about it. So I lead with that as as somebody who doesn't look the part, but I definitely am whether I'm in my head or on paper and things like that. But yeah, it's okay.
Mental health
And I try and convey people.
is a hard one, right? Because it's like it's so variable and it's so unique to person, you know. There's different levels of it. It's one of the things that we really have had to start doing at Team RWB a lot is like because we're volunteer run, you can only train volunteers so much, right? And you can only ask volunteers to do so much. And what we found is that our volunteers were coming across people in the community that needed help, and they weren't really trained. They weren't trained to deal with that, right? And so we had to put some systems in place to be able to have a way that they can get people to help easily, you know, because it's hard. It's hard stuff to deal with.
Yeah, what systems have you guys had to put in place? Because people will reach out to somebody they trust, and I get messages. I'll send people to other people, and I'm a nobody. I just started. You guys have been around, and you're a national brand. You're a flag carrying member of this nonprofit community. You have to have tons of people reaching out to you guys, especially at a local city level with people that are friends of folks. So what systems have you had to put in place and partnerships have you had to put in place to at least refer somebody to the
Yeah.
right place?
The,
Ensure that they're going to the right place.
yeah, that's really hard because um it's a lot easier now than it used to be, but um getting people to a place where not everyone can go to the VA, right? And like we have this world of telehealth now, but they've gotten it somewhat sorted out. But there was all kinds of like state licensure issues with that before, where someone would be like, okay, they could only see someone who lived in Wisconsin, even though this person lives in Illinois, right? Or you would run into those kinds of technical issues. So we use one provider right now, and it's called Check-in. And what it is, and you can go to veterancheckin.org, but it's like the way I describe it is it's like the easy button in the middle. So it connects community organizations like Team RWB to literally the best mental health and brain care organizations in the world on the other end. So I'm talking like UCLA and Emory and Mass General and like the best mental health and brain care. And they all have veteran specific programs. So if someone either identifies to us that they need mental health care or one of our volunteers thinks that someone might be suffering, we can just send them to Check-in, and Check-in has a team of people that are awesome that will they'll intake them, they'll triage them, they'll look at what they have from benefits, where they live, do they need inpatient or outpatient, all that kind of stuff, and they'll get that person to really high quality care. And the other thing we have to deal with is like HIPAA violations, right? Because we obviously can't know kind of what happens with people from a medical perspective. And they're a HIPAA compliant organization, so we don't have to mess with it. So it's awesome for us. If someone is like, if someone needs care, we can kind of get their consent because you have to have consent to pass someone's information on. And we can pass it on and get them connected to really, really high quality care. So it's a
Good.
great, and what we've learned is like how you ask the question really matters. So the language that we've landed on is we ask people, and we do this in a lot of places in a lot of our digital communications, do you have any unmet mental health needs? And if they say yes, then we say, hey, we've got this great partner. Can we connect you with them? Because you have to have their consent to do it. And if they say yes, then we'll connect them with Check-in, and Check-in gets them to wherever the best spot for them is, right? because this is where you need like clinical people, right? Because it might be mental health, it might be in combination with some kind of brain injury, because they want to get them to the right place.
That's
Um,
good. I'm glad to hear that. Technology is amazing. It's a good thing that it's caught up to the need as well. We've got, what is it, 988 now,
yeah.
and you can do
Well,
other
that,
things.
that's
So that's
another important part of the training. I should have said this at the beginning is training. Like if you believe someone's in crisis, you need to call 911. Period. Like this is not a crisis line. This is if someone is in crisis, you need to call 911 and get trained professionals involved. This is not a crisis line. This is people who need care but are not in crisis. So that's an important part of it too, is to make sure that people know how you can get people involved, and making sure they have the resources to know.
good. Back to you. You've been with Team RWB this whole time. How personally has it been to you to see these challenges arise and then get dealt with in the correct manner? Because you guys, Team RWB has a very, very good reputation, and you guys are well established in the community. How has it been to see the right thing done the right way for 15 years?
I think the reason that I came to Team RWB in the first place, well, it was very personal just because of my timeline, right? And so, I got commissioned in 2001, um, and went to Fort Sill to the field artillery course there, and I was there when 9/11 happened, right? So I was at um, Bullock, when 9/11 happened. Then graduated, went to Fort Hood, in 2002, and then like then the war started, right? And so like that's the only army that I knew. But it was very personal because many people that I knew, to include friends of mine, um, were really struggling at the time. And so I remember thinking, one of the things I remember thinking was I had a couple friends who were like really struggling, and these were people who had supportive families. These were people who had good jobs, and so they didn't have like financial stress, and they had a lot of things going for them, and they were still really struggling. And I remember at the time thinking about some of my soldiers and thinking like, man, this person who has all the resources in the world around them, they have supportive family, they have financial resources, they have all the things. If they're struggling, what in the hell is going on with some of these folks who don't have any of that? They don't have the family support structure. They don't have, they probably have economic. I just remember thinking that. And that's one of the things that really caused me to want to get involved. The other thing was, I got out, or I left active duty and was in the National Guard, and I worked for two big companies, one Fortune 500 and one Fortune 100 company. And there was, I have this competitive side of me that wanted to do well in those jobs, and I think I did do well. But the thing I was having trouble reconciling was, it was like, what am I doing this for? You can kind of talk about taking care of customers and all this kind of stuff, but when you strip it all away, it's like you're just making rich people richer. That's really what you're doing. And I was just like, I'm like, what is going on? And I was having trouble like not justifying, I was just having trouble reconciling that with myself. And my first son was born at the time, and I was like, what am I going to tell him I'm doing? When he asked me like, what do I do? Like, what am I going to tell him I'm doing? That I did. And so Team RWB kind of came to me, like I said, my friend Blaine called me and asked me, and it kind of came at this time where it was like, I knew I wanted some mission oriented work. I also knew practically that I hated working for large businesses. The bureaucracy was just like mind numbing to me. And I wanted to try working in a small business. And it was really personal because it was like people that like we all knew. The people who worked there at the beginning, it was like people that we all knew, and I think it was really personal. And we tried to really do it what we thought was the right way. Now, looking back on it, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. None of us did, right? We were just It was just kind of one of these things where like the kinds of people who were working there, it was like there's not a lot you can't accomplish through elbow grease, I think. And we just like kind of willed it into existence in a lot of ways. And we have always tried to run the organization. It's like really simple, but it's got the front page of the newspaper rule. It's like if you wouldn't be proud to talk about what you're doing on the front page of the newspaper, then like you shouldn't be doing it. And we've always kind of kept that mindset. Have we made every right decision over the years? Absolutely not. We've messed up some stuff royally, but it was always from a place where we thought we were making the best decision for the organization. But we've made some major tactical mistakes over the years. Um, but they were always like well intentioned. And we just try to run the business in a place that we're really proud of. One of the things that we have a guy who's started working for us recently. He's a retired Green Beret, and he we make our financials completely open to anyone can look at them. If someone wants, not just the stuff that the IRS sees, like if any of our employees wants to open up our P&L or our balance sheet, they can do it. It's completely open. It's completely transparent. And it's like everybody knows what's in the budget. Like it's just kind of how we run the business. And I think some of that stuff is really important. I also think that leading volunteers has been one of the biggest leadership challenges I've ever had to deal with because it's just especially when they're virtual, right? And you can't like put your arm around them and talk to them. It's really hard. So I think like having to do that as well because you really have to be tight with what you're asking them to do and why you're asking them to do it. And it's like just I think it's forced us to run a better business. That's a super long answer, but it's a lot of things.
That's fine. Everybody always apologizes for giving these super detailed answers to my questions. I'm like, that's kind of the point of the show, everybody. It's to get your whole answer out. But it's no, totally fine. No, it's good to see, and it's got to feel good for you. I've said many times on the show, uh, everybody goes into some sort of mourning, some funk when they get out of the service, and
100%.
they really start pulling themselves out of it when they either create their own team or join somebody else's. One of or both. And for me, I made my own thing, and then I started bringing people onto my team. But for you guys, hey, we're this thing. Come join our team. I promise you'll feel better.
I think me personally, this was maybe looking back at it, I don't know if it was intentional, but maybe it was kind of intentional. I didn't realize it. So there was two things that I had in my favor that I think really helped with the transition. The first one was that I spent a few years in the National Guard after I left active duty. And I have a lot more respect. I think, when you're on active duty, people like to, poke fun at the National Guard, but I have a lot more respect for having been in it, what they do. But the thing that was good for me is it forced me to stay in shape because I've always been like a big kind of lead by example PT guy. That's the way I was the whole time I was on active duty. And then I got to the guard and you start get a desk job, you start getting a little out of shape. And then it was like that's not how I'm going to show up to drill weekend. Like I want to score better than everyone on the PT test. So that kind of forced me to stay in better shape than I think I would have otherwise, if that makes sense. Um, and then I went to work for a place. I went to work for Caterpillar in Texas, and that is full of military veterans. And it's very similar to the military. I worked in the service side. It's very kind of you still wear uniforms. It's like structured. Half the people used to be in the military. Like it's very kind of locker roomy in a lot of ways. And so that still felt pretty normal to me. And I think those two things made for like a lot smoother transition than if I would have like popped out and like went to grad school or something. That would have been, I think, a lot rougher experience.
Yeah, totally different world. Everybody's got a different path. I, unfortunately, from my interviews, officers take it a lot better than the enlisted do. I'm sure that has something to do with background and career path and a lot of other factors. That's just what I see. That's my data from my show, but people can check me on it. But it's my show, so I see, and then we take it a lot harder, I think, because you're more at that team level. You're really in there living with things, and it's just different in a transition. But that's good, and it's got to feel good as well, being in the position you're in, seeing people come onto the team or come to events, and then just be happy, and then just kind of a light bulb go off of like, yes, this is something I want to do, or this is a place I want to be. It's got to feel good as well.
It does. It's personally fulfilling, right? I think that's one of the. I enjoy the work, but it's personally. Listen, it's hard. I spend all of my time, and this is just kind of my nature, thinking about the things that we don't do very well as an organization, right? Like I look
Negative bias.
all of our awards. That's what I spend my time thinking about. Like, we could do this better. We suck at this. We messed that up. And I think sometimes, and like Sully is even good at kind of pulling me back and saying, like, hey, listen, you're focused on this thing, but you're missing the fact that like these 1,000 people, are had this really positive experience with Team RWB. But I love it when I see a personal connection where, you'll see someone come into the organization and they'll start to participate a little bit, then they'll a little bit more, then they decide they want to become a volunteer. And then they do something deep. They might go to UHP or they might go on one of our expeditions or something. And you just kind of see them progress. And I can't even tell you how many RWB marriages have happened from over the years where someone will come in and they'll meet someone else and they'll get married. And like, I love that, right? Where you're having people come in, they're meeting new people, and I just like I love seeing that. And so yeah, it does make me feel good, even though by my nature a lot of times I like tend to get sucked into like, oh man, we didn't execute that thing very well or whatever, whatever it was.
Yeah, it's that's common. It's never enough, right? And you have to be aware that you have to get out of that headspace, because if it's never going to be enough, then there's no point in doing anything. There's no like there's because then nothing is the same as everything. They're on the same plane. You could it's If it's never going to be enough, then there is no meaning to what we're doing. If I'm never going to be satisfied, but look at all the shit we accomplished. Look at all the shit we did.
I think some of
There's
it
all
is
this stuff.
so when you take a bunch of people and they start an organization, they start a nonprofit, and none of them know anything about nonprofits. So what do? You kind of do the things that you know. So in the military, after you do a thing or an event or a mission, what do you do? What's the first thing that everybody does, right?
They are.
An AAR, right? It's just it's just built into you. So what do you think we started doing? Anytime we would do something meaningful, we'd AAR it, right? And just you're supposed to look at what went well and what didn't go well, but we spend all our time talking about what didn't go well. So I think it's just like it's just been I think this idea of like always being honest with yourself about how well you're doing is something that's been really important for us over the years. So we still do AARs, but I think just it's in some people's nature like mine to like focus on the things that you can do better, you know?
Yeah. You can always do better. You can always do much worse too, as I try to point out to people. It can always, I wish I had this. I wish I would have gone on that deployment. Well, you could have gone on a whole lot less. You could have been a couple seconds off and things could have gone differently for you. So, yeah, I take time to appreciate what you've accomplished and
Yeah.
how
Intuitively,
far you've come.
intuitively I know that, but I don't always listen to my own advice sometimes.
Well, yeah. Yeah, everybody's got to work towards their own style too. Know what works for them. Know what keeps them going. I'm pretty hard on myself, but I'm also not at the same time. So I since I'm the only person here to bounce ideas off of and things like that, I gotta go. Yeah, we can't just be negative all the time. We gotta okay, this is working, this isn't working. We gotta do this and that.
Did you
So
when you got medically retired, did you keep working out?
no, I tried to drink myself to death for
Were
6
you were
years.
you still working out during that, or just completely?
A little bit here and there. I would have spurts where I'd get back on track here and there, but uh, I got 2 years, probably 2 years before I got back into a cycle of working out, and then I got pretty fit again, and then I'd get fall off, and Yeah, here and there, not too bad. Now it's consistently. I've been in the gym 300, 400 times this year, I think. Different workouts. Yeah, just here and there. I mean, I just did a cross country road trip where I did
I saw you in
six or
squats
six or
everywhere.
I think I did 6 or 700 reps of 225 or something like that in the month, and all kinds of stuff. Just ridiculous. I had the note up here for a little bit, but yeah, we've far exceeded the normal standard. It went from I traded alcohol for fitness and a much healthier transition,
What
but
was the
I
thing? So you said you had like these peaks and valleys with it. Like, what was the thing that finally made it stick the last time?
oh the cops got called. Cops came to the house, so but just and then but for everybody listening at home that hasn't heard, do not do not go from drinking half a handle of vodka a day to zero. You will almost die. I promise you that. So but I quit, and it was 21 months ago now, and haven't thought about picking up a bottle again since then. But I I had great potential in the military, and now thinking clearly, and I realize that now in this role that I'm in, that I've created for myself and the community that I'm building, that I have even greater potential now in what I'm doing to overshadow what I did in the past. I don't know if I'm there yet, but my reach is 100 times more than what it used to be, and the potential for that is unlimited. So I mean, it comes with the being better at speaking, having conversations, talking to people, networking, following up on conversations, and just being there for people. So we'll see where things go. But yeah, I the tagline in Instagram is it's never too late to be who you could have become. And I'm starting to feel like I'm becoming the person who I could have been.
It's interesting to go down the alcohol road. So we are that's kind of the next thing we're working on right now. So we have these systems
Ooh,
placed on with mental health to get people into care. We're trying to work on doing the same thing with substance abuse. Um, that obviously is a challenge in the veteran community, and so for us, like we have, we because we're nationwide, we're big enough that we can't like do things off spreadsheets anymore. So like everything has to be kind of something that we can systemize. So yeah, we're working on substance abuse, like getting people into really good, high quality substance abuse care, where they need it. That's kind of our next frontier that we're gonna try to roll out in 2026.
it's
Um,
tough. It's tough.
it's
Nobody does anything unless they have to or they want to, and really you want to get them towards that want to sort of thing. I personally don't think much of either one of those. It will work with the, you know, trying to persuade people to go into treatment or to take up this instead. What I think, and that's what I'm building lesser known operators is off of, if people see me do it, they might want to do it as well. So I'm gonna do what I say I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna try and be an example to other people, and I'm gonna try and not let myself down and let them down as well. There's a lot of people to keep me accountable, and I say these things all the time to people. So people don't listen and they don't read, but they will watch what you do. We have done that our whole lives since we were little babies. That's where we learned how to walk and learn how to carry things and trade and play and interact with our siblings and our friends and things like that, is by watching others. And that's what I'll do. You have to be the example. You have to have somebody out there in front willing to say, I went through all of this terrible things, and I'm going to act out what I'm saying, and not preach to people. I think veterans really hate. Didn't you hate when we would have to go to a mandatory briefing or a safety stand down or something, and then sure enough somebody would go out and get a DUI that night, and it's just they hate, our community hates to be told what to do, especially after service. But maybe that's the way. That's the way I see it. That's the way I'm going with it. Is to be an example, one for myself and one for everybody else, or two for everybody else. And I think that's going to work better from my point of view. But you have to have all the systems so they work for the whole array.
Yeah, it's funny. You know, if I wasn't clear about this up front, I am not from a special operations background, right? I'm big Army the entire time. We work with a lot of special operations and some of them.
Quick, quick, quick interjection here. Lesser known operators, it's my show, so I get to make up the definition of operator. And part of my thing is an anti-flex. I wasn't an operator.
Yeah.
I wasn't in Delta, and just because somebody wasn't this or wasn't that doesn't mean they're not operating at a high level. You guys are operating solo. You guys are doing great things. The people that come on my shows are operating at a high level in their field. So you don't have to be special operations, or the thing is special operations or special operations adjacent. You guys do a lot to help people that are in special operations. So that's good enough for me.
It's funny though. So I'm around a lot of special operations people on a daily basis. Some of my best friends are, and what I've found that this is my like generalization. People who come from that background like to be told what to do less than people who come from the conventional military. That's just kind of what I've noticed. I think like when you come from the conventional military, you're kind of used to being told what to do a little bit more. And people push back on it less there. I find that people like to be told what to do less, who come from the special operations world. That's just my observation. I could be wrong on that, but
We are assessed for certain traits, and along with those traits, certain other traits come along with it.
yeah.
So, I
Um,
can, I totally believe that.
but to jump back to the substance abuse thing, it's hard. These things are hard, right? And if they were easy problems, they would have been solved already. So we're trying to figure out how do we do this in a way that works, that's authentic. It's like getting someone into substance abuse care if they want it is expensive and it takes a long time. So like we're just trying to figure out how to do that. So that's going to be a big project for us. But what's been interesting to me, you asked me earlier, like what has changed in the last 13 years. I'll tell you something that I've seen change hugely. And this is this idea of talking publicly about challenges, right? Like everything from mental health to substance abuse, like people are talking about these things in the open in ways that it did not happen before, right? And I think that's really good because you get to see people, to your point, like there's people can look for inspirations and look for examples, and and that just was not the case, so I think that's good because the reality is most people, I think, there's a lot of positive traits that you can bring out of the military, right? Like hopefully you have grit and resilience, and like there's things that you've learned that have been good, but people bring a lot of negative traits out of the military too, right? You binge drinking and substance abuse and caffeine abuse and not sleeping well, and like those are negative traits that people bring out of the military that people don't talk about, which are not super healthy, when you're trying to like do other things. So I think just talking to them, people's willingness to talk about this stuff has changed a lot, and I think it's really good and important.
Oh, it is good, and I go a strange direction with that. I am anti. So people say this phrase: "Comparison is the thief of joy." That's a poorly thought out phrase, and it's bullshit. If I didn't compare myself to anybody else, I wouldn't have succeeded and done the things I do. It's when people envy what other people have that drives them insane. So we people are more open. We feel that we need to share our story, one, because it helps us, and two, because it helps other people. Those people are going to hear that and they're going to compare themselves to us, and they're going to say, well, I want that. And then they're going to want to go make a change. Or they're going to say that's bullshit, and they'll just go on about their day. It's not really going to affect them. But people want to change, and they hear you, and then they compare themselves. Like, oh, that person's feeling good and starting to feel better. I want to feel better. I want to do that. So it's the same with success or building a team or anything like that. It's not the comparison that's the problem. It's the envy of what somebody else has and the unwillingness to do anything about it, and just to be honest with people. Just say, this is what I'm going through. Because if you describe something that's going on in your head honestly, and you're just matter of fact about it, and somebody knows that you're telling the truth, that knows that you're being real about what's going on, and that shit's going on in their head as well, they'll feel the same as you. They'll want to do something about it. They will honest if they're honest with themselves. If they're not, if there's the bottles talking to them or pills or something like that, and it's got them in a different world, that's something that's it's a little harder to get to. But if people can tell that you're being honest about what you're saying and it resonates with them, if that's going on in their head too, they're more likely to ask you for help or ask you what you did or look for the same steps to help themselves as well too, because there's people can, when somebody gets up on stage and they start talking and going, this speech sucks, it's all this, and you could say the same speech the same way, but if somebody says it where they care and they just really want, and you can tell, that's the hard part, because you can't, there's no coaching that, there's no practicing that. It's when you get up and tell a story that is really meaningful and difficult to say, but somebody else is going through something the same way, then that's that's the hardest part about it, is because you can't you can't fake that. You can't fake somebody believing you and feeling the same way and wanting to help themselves. So, uh, yeah, it's kind of but when you meet somebody and you want to be friends with them and you don't know why, it's just after a couple sentences and things like that. It's that sort of relationship where leadership, the biggest question from boards and the military and everything is, what's the number one trait of a leader? Well, that's there's a canned board answer, but it's really hard to define, but you know it when you see it. And somebody that really cares and really wants the best for you and really wants you to get help, man, you know it when you see it, when you start talking to somebody, when you shake their hand and they look you in the eye and they make you feel like you matter and they care about you. That's the hardest thing with all of this stuff, is people think that others don't care, and they really do. You just have to be honest about all of it.
Yeah, that's been hard from a business perspective. It's like we live in this virtual world now. Like everything is online, and in this world that we live in, to back to Team RWB, it's all virtual, and there's apps and virtual connections, and we're talking about clicks and daily active users and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, there's a person. At the end, every single one of these people for us is a person, and that's why we've tried to stay so hard to keep an in-person component around the country, because this is the people business. We're in the people business. We're not selling anything. And people business can be hard sometimes. It can be really hard, but like you're never going to get that personal connection from TikTok or something. It's like it's just it's hard, and it's a lot of work. And I don't know that we have it completely figured out yet, but we're trying hard to keep people at the core of it, and to keep our ground game up so that we can keep doing that.
So you guys are, I mean, you are selling something. We all are. Everything in life is sales. You guys are selling
Yeah, we're selling
kinship,
experience, I
family,
guess, right? Like,
experience. You guys are selling this sense of community and teamwork and camaraderie and all these other things, and especially to investors and things like that. And those you got to take care, especially with them. Where is my money going? And the phrase that I hate the most in the space is, we got to do more with less. Hold up. That's just the death of any organization right there. We got to do more with less. So we want to burn out our people that are already volunteering. No, we can't do that. We got to do more with more, or we got to do less with less. We can't counteract the two things. They don't go mutually together. So, but no,
yeah,
it's everything sales. Everything is.
I'll tell you. So, having worked in the private sector and then coming over here, measuring success in the private sector is easy. Achieving it's not easy, but measuring it's easy. People either buying what you're selling or they're not, right? Like when you were a sales rep, like how were you judged on your success? Were you selling or not selling, right? Now in our world, achieving it's not easy. That's not what I'm saying at all. That can be really hard, but measuring it is, people are either buying it or they're not, right? In our world, it's so much more difficult because it's like, how do you know if what we're doing is making a veteran's life better, right? How do we tease out what we're doing and saying, okay, they joined the organization here, it's now here, we've made them, their well-being is improved. That's really hard to do. And we don't operate in a lab environment. It's not like Nick comes in the door, we draw his blood on day one, we give him all the diagnostics, and then he goes through this 4-week program, and then we stick him again at the end, and we check all the things, and we see if he's more healthy. Like, that's not the world we live in. We live in this world of like volunteers and real people. Some interact with us a lot, some interact with us a little bit, some are going through a divorce, some just got a great new job. It's messy, right? But overall, how do we know that their outcomes are improved because of their interaction with Team RWB? Like, that's hard to measure, but we spend so much time trying to work on it because we care about it.
Good. That means you care. Yeah. It's the intangibles, the hardest thing. There's no numbers to put on things, and you only know the effect you have when somebody comes up to you years later and says, that really helped me. That really did something for me. And there's no tracking that. There's no data. There's no paper trail or anything like that. So difficult. But if it was easy, everybody would be as big as you guys are and have as good a reputation and do the things that you guys do. It's
We're
hard
trying
to
to
operate in this space.
we're trying to triangulate around it a little bit, and we've gotten a little bit more sophisticated. So like we've got this tool called the ELS, which is like a simple well-being assessment. It kind of gives you a well-being score. That's one tool. We're starting to work on allowing people to sync their wearable devices with our apps, kind of look and say like, hey, is this person more active over time? Like, are they doing more? And then we're talking about doing like a real basic so that kind of looks at your health, but it's like, are you more fit? So we're looking at like a real basic.
You got a 0-6 PT test here. Everybody form up out in the parade field.
Well, that's the thing. We can't make anyone do anything, right? You have to offer it up and try to make it so that people will want to do it, because
I like that though. I like that as a challenge. One thing I'm trying to float right now is I want to go to every service and get them to put me through a PT test so I can rate them and compare them to all of the branches and say, and on a scale and stuff like that. That actually sounds fun to me. If like, hey, we're going to do the ACF, or what is it? ACT, whatever. They just changed the name of it, right?
It's just the AF now or whatever it is. Yeah.
They got rid of the ball, but it's 5 events now. And, but that's a fun thing to go through, and but offer it up. People be like, yeah, just come and try it, So
yeah, so
there's data to be had everywhere.
Yeah, we're trying to do it and then make it really easy so people can put their scores into our app, so we can kind of like feed it back to them and show them progress over time. But we have to make everything so that there's no equipment required. And we have to make everything adaptable, because we have many people with various disabilities who are members. So like we have to offer adaptive exercises, but it's got to be no or very little equipment, because people are doing it in their basements or in parks or garages, and they don't have trap bars and, squat racks, and like, you can't have, we really can't have equipment be part of this. One of the tests that we looked at, and I don't know if you grew up taking this, but I grew up taking that presidential physical fitness test every year. Did you do that in school?
Oh God! Oh, was it school? No, all I remember from school was the guy that was jumping rope and the pacer of his tests.
So you should look at this. It's interesting. Some states are starting to put it back. I think Ohio is putting it back in the schools right now. But so JFK, when he was president, basically said like, he thinks it's a national. I don't want to misquote him, but like, it's a national travesty to have like unfit, you know, kids. And so he instituted this thing called the Presidential Physical Fitness Test. And they did it for like 65 years in schools. So there's a tremendous amount of data on it, and it's actually a pretty good assessment. Hey, check my math on this. A long time.
Well, he was killed in 63, and so 65 years would be 2028.
Okay, so that can't be right. It was killed. The test stopped being done in the early 2000s. So, um,
Okay.
40 some years, I guess, right? Um, but there's a lot of data on it, and it's a pretty good assessment in terms of looking at your overall fitness, and it requires like basically no equipment. And
There
so
you go.
other than a bar. And so that was actually one of the things that we looked at, when we were thinking about what this could look like, you know, for us. Uh, it always makes me feel bad when you go look and see for what it would take to max. You would get like a little badge or a patch or something, I think, if you got a certain score on it, that they would like send to your school. And it's like quite hard to it's quite hard to get a perfect score on.
That sounds familiar, actually. I think there was a patch you could get for your gym uniform.
Yeah, yeah, that's
What's the name of the test?
presidential physical fitness test.
Physical fitness test. Let's see what we got for students aged 10 to 17, originated under Eisenhower.
Oh, I was wrong.
All right, running 1 mile,
Yep,
pull-ups or push-ups,
yep.
slightly different exercises there. Sit-ups, shuttle run, and a sit and reach. Yes, I do remember students who
And there was a
scored
one
at
mile
or
run.
above.
There was a
Yeah,
one
the
mile
1 mile
run.
run.
Yep.
Students have scored at or above the 85th percentile on all exercises were eligible for the Presidential Fitness Award. Hmm. Hmm. So if they're going by percentile, then that means there's no standard. But I'm sure that they used the wrong word there then.
I think,
So
as I recall, it was different based off your age. Uh,
yeah. So let's see. A 17. So curl ups in 1 minute, 55. Partial curl ups, 66. Shuttle run, 8.7 seconds. V sit and reach, +7. Sit and reach, 41. 1 mile run, 6:06. Ooh, that's going to be tough for me. I think we can do it though.
you should go. This would be an interesting thing. You should give yourself the presidential physical fitness test and see if you could earn the patch of a 17-year-old.
At those, yeah, I'm fairly confident I can. Yeah.
Yeah, but
So,
it was a pretty good test. The I think the pull-ups versus push-ups is those obviously are two different things, but I think they were just trying to measure like upper body strength. Um, but what's different about it is most tests you take don't have a flexibility component,
right.
and that one does. And that was the thing that many of us like. The flexibility component used to crush me on it. Um, but yeah, the steel
Huh.
sit and
I
reach.
remember the sit and reach box. Yeah, I remember that. Well, I guess the lesson here is if you're looking for new and exciting ways to engage your population, look towards the past. It's already been done. Everything's almost always been done before. Just bring back something else. I like that. That'd be fun to do.
Yeah.
But then you get in the competition side, and then everybody makes it not fun. So you just gotta.
So that's one of the things I think that's been key about Team RWB is people will say that, especially working for us, it's like the most non-military military organization you'll ever see. So we try to capture the good parts of military service and not have the bad parts, right? So we don't have big like there's not something that I think could have happened if we weren't intentional about it is like almost a chain of command developing in the chapters around the country, because like what are people used to, like having a chain of command, and we very much wanted that to not happen, right? Like we that's not the vibe that we were going for. We don't want, it's not like it's a real flat organization, like a lot of the things that people hate, like the hurry up and wait and like a lot of the stupid stuff. We try to not have that, but we try to have the good parts of it that people look back on fondly and not have the bad parts be part of our experience. Because like we've always considered ourselves to be a military adjacent organization, you know? So
That's good. That's good. Best of both worlds, and see what the future holds. What am I missing out on here? I mean, we We touched on the GWOT 100. How can everybody sign up for the GWOT 100? I'm sure I'll have links in the show description for that as well.
Um, Man, we got talking about other things. So
That's all right.
yeah, they can go to GWOT100.org and sign up. What I think is cool is it's free. It's a 100% free event. People can buy gear if they'd like, but they don't have to. And it sounds like a lot to say you're going to do 100 miles in a month, but what I tell people is that if you can walk 3 miles, you can do this. Because if you walk 3 miles a day, you'll basically get to 100 miles. You got to do a couple days, a little bit more, but you'll basically get there. Um, And the teams component is what's been really cool about this. This is our first year running it. One of the things that I wasn't expecting is a lot of military units are signing up for this, and they'll set like their companies will have different teams, or the platoons will have different teams, and people will compete against each other. And I was not expecting that to be the case. It's just kind of happening on its own, which has been really cool. But I would say it's a great way to start your year to get active and get out and to get some miles on. And it's a great way to kind of just learn a little bit more. I think the event itself is cool, the storytelling component of it. So I'd invite people to kind of check out that piece of it. But it's just a fun way to challenge yourself, I think is also part of it. So set up a team and do it. Like it'll be awesome.
Team lesser known operators. I'll swim laps in the pool. Um,
Are you a swimmer?
I force myself to swim. Yes,
So you can
I
you can swim in this, but we actually give people a conversion. 400 meters of swimming equals 1 mile of running.
oh, that's it? Shit. I do 400-meter, 500-meter warm-ups every day, or I swim at least 500 meters a day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
So,
think we tried to do some math and do some conversions. So like cycling, 3 miles of cycling equals 1 mile of running.
eh.
Four, you know,
Well, that makes we'll see how the job
you can
situation works
row,
out.
you can skier, you can Jacob's ladder. It's like all movement based stuff. And there's like a conversion.
No.
There's a stair stepper. There's conversions for all of it. But most people run or walk or ruck or hike. Is the majority of it.
Well, I live in Wisconsin, and I'm going to be honest with you. I ain't going out there. I'm just not going to do it. Unless I absolutely have to, with some of the SFREs with the National Guard, or going out for training and things like that, and hanging out with those guys. I just, I just don't. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be on my treadmill or in the pool. Pool's heated, which is nice, and doing my on the rower, or doing CrossFit or whatever like that. So lifting. So
I forgot to tell you about an important, cool aspect of this. There is a kickoff event to this, which I think is cool. So it's a virtual event, but there is an in-person event. It's in Jacksonville Beach, and it's going to be out of the. Are you familiar with GoRuck?
yeah, I know a few guys over there. Yeah.
It's going to be based out of the GoRuck headquarters. They're one of our sponsors, and it's going to kick off on January 31st at 1600 for some people, 4 o'clock, which is because the the GWOT 100 is the February event. That's when February starts in Baghdad. Is
Okay.
is 4 o'clock. Um, and it's going to be a 24-hour 100-mile challenge, and this is small. This is just will probably be 100 people total, and people can either sign up to do it by themselves if they're completely insane, or a team of two if they're kind of insane, or a team of four if they're just like mildly insane. And it's going to be a 4 mile loop over 24 hours. So kind of a backyard ultra type format. And then we're going to have a party at the end of it and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be, 1600 on Saturday the 31st through 1600 on Sunday the 1st. And then there'll be kind of an after party afterwards. So it's just kind of a kickoff event. That is, not going to be huge, but it is kind of a cool, we're calling it the Thunder Run, which if
Mm,
people remember, the Thunder Run was this thing that I believe the 3rd Infantry Division did when they swooped into Baghdad, and like at the beginning of the Iraq War conflict, where they ran like they basically went so fast into Baghdad they outran all of their logistics and supplies. Um, so yeah, but they call it the Thunder, so we're calling it the Thunder Run. So
okay.
that's another cool component of it, I think.
Well, that sounds fun. I don't think I'll make it, but you never know where I'm going to be.
Yeah,
Um,
I would. I I'm not in a place where I'm kind of willing to put in the time to train for those big distances like that. But I will be there working. But I would, if I wasn't, I'd completely try to put a four-person team together because, like, if you, so I think it's pretty, I think most people could get to a place where you can do 25 miles broken up into 4 mile chunks over a 24-hour period, right? So you get some time to recover, rest and those kinds of things. So yeah, I think it'll be, that's kind of a cool component of it as well. But the main thing is just getting people out and getting people active.
that's all any of it is, right? All the options and giving people a chance to go out and do something and have fun and that sense of community and team environment again. So it's fun.
Yeah.
Well,
What else you got?
hopefully,
We've covered a lot of like really minefield laden ground today.
no, it's good. I like I said, I appreciate you reaching out to me, and hopefully, a few more people will hear about the thing from this episode, and this will come out in a couple weeks and give some people signed up. Um, every event that I have people on, they're always so far from my house because Jacksonville's only a quick 18-hour drive from here, so it's right around the corner. But no, man, are we missing anything else with Team RWB events upcoming and in the future?
No, I think if someone is listening to this and they um okay, I'll back up a little bit. So transition, when people transition from the military, it's been studied pretty extensively, I think, since like World War II. And there's been some good studies that have looked at like outcomes. And when people have failed transitions, it's like three things, and it can be one, two, or three of the things. One is it's it's like their health is not good. They're lonely. They don't have relationships in their life, and they don't feel like they have a sense of purpose, right? Those are kind of the three big things that generally people find that lead to. So I always talk to people and say like, hey, listen, your health, these are things you can start to, if you're getting out of the military, you can kind of proactively work on these things. Like don't stop exercising, keep doing that. That'll be good for you. You're probably going to be lonely wherever you go. So like force yourself to make some friends, which is hard as an adult, right? Like, but force yourself to go to a CrossFit gym or a jujitsu gym or a church group or whatever the thing is, you know. And then like you're going to probably miss the sense of purpose. So like volunteer, find something to do, be a big brother, coach sports, be a deacon at your church, be a Team RWB volunteer, whatever the thing is, but like do do I don't really care what the thing is, but like if you do those things, you're probably going to have a more successful transition. And but we're kind of there whenever someone needs us is my message. Right? Like if Team RWB is like always going to be there for you. So if now's not the time, that's cool, you know. If you're at a place later in life and you just want to work on your health and you're looking for a community of supportive people to help you with it, we'll be here. Come see us because that's what we want to do.
It's a good message to have, good place to be. All right. How can everybody find you guys on the socials and the internet if they so choose?
They're probably not going to find me because I'm not very active on any of those things.
I see that. I saw that. I
Yeah,
found you last night on Instagram.
I'm like a bit of an introvert. Yeah, I mean, I think I posted a picture of my son at a wrestling tournament when he was like 7. He's now 17. That's the last picture I posted. Yeah, Team R2B is easy. Just they can just search Team R2B or teamrwb.org. And all the stuff is there, and you can get connected. So we try to make it really easy. It's free. Nothing costs anything. So anyone can come be involved for free. Everything we
All
do
right.
is free. There's if people want to there's often options to buy gear or whatever. You can do that if you want to support the organization, but everything's free.
I love that. I love that. I really appreciate you reaching out to me and coming on the show and talking about the projects and Team RWB. I know it says on my Instagram that I'm a Green Beret Foundation ambassador, but I will work with anybody that wants to work with me for the betterment of our community. I don't, there's no finish line and it's not a competition. So I appreciate you reaching out to me.
Yeah, we've got lots of intersections with GBF as well. Like so, but I'm interested in what those boxes are behind you first.
These ones?
Yes.
Oh, you're only the second person to ask that. So we've got Hansa Teutonica, we've got the Lord of the Rings card game, and then we've got War of the Ring, based on the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So adult, board games, but very detailed, and it's not Monopoly, that's for sure. I got a big table here that would take up the whole table, these games. So.
Huh. Do you consider yourself like, are you more of a board game aficionado, or do you like, or fantasy stuff in general?
Oh God, I have a tough time learning the games themselves because I don't have an attention span. I like Lord of the Rings and fantasy stuff. What did I say the other night in my story? I watch Godzilla movies for Godzilla, if that makes sense. I don't watch it for the story. I like to see the whimsical part of life because it's ridiculous, of the movies and things like that. So anything that's fantasy and stuff like that, as long as it's good watching, good story. But
So
yeah,
I have been a Lord of the Rings fan since I was a kid. I still am.
yeah.
I have 100% some nerdish tendencies. I love science fiction, things like that. Mike Sullivan might not talked about this. He's more of a Lord of the Rings fan than I am. And it absolutely drives people crazy. At every Team RWB thing that we're together, we are uh there's Lord of the Rings influence on everything. Like, we have one master calendar that we use, like what would be the like the training calendar, I guess, in the military. Uh can you guess what we call it?
The one calendar to rule them all.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's the one calendar to rule them all. So we have it. We're both big fans of stuff like that. So
Good. There's nothing wrong with that. There's so many people think, oh, nerd stuff, and it's like, who cares? Like I watch Lord of the Rings pretty much on a loop, and that and a couple other shows. I play games, and I'm not too much into video games though because I'm just so bad at them. I don't know why, but yeah, I like anything that makes you happy. I'm all about it. As long as you're not hurting the elderly, children, or animals, I'm pretty much okay with whatever everybody does.
we when you work in a distributed environment like we do, we've always been distributed, so we don't work. We and you know it's a challenging environment, especially when you come from the military. When you're around people, like, you can't do that, so you have to find ways to like build relationships with people when you don't actually see them ever. So we'll often kind of start a lot of our just the menial meetings that we have when we're talking about stuff with like kind of just icebreakery kind of questions. Um, and we were doing one the other day. We were talking about like Instagram channels that people like to follow that are like kind of interesting and nerdy. So have you ever heard of one called Airplane Facts with Max?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I assumed you had. That was one that pops up. It's like one of my favorite, it's one of my favorite follows. And if people like Lord of the Rings, they love it. If they don't like Lord of the Rings, they look at you like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life.
I um it's great the content he does. I don't follow. I'll see him pop up from time to time. I pretty much know what he's going to say, and I just go, yeah, that's if you can make be successful off of that, that's awesome. I love it when people are so creative like that, and it's it's interesting to see that people will make stuff then go a totally. I think it's cool, and I'm glad some of this stuff is more mainstream and accepted because it's just so much fun. I don't get into a lot of the other stuff. I like Lord of the Rings. I don't like really any of the other franchises and stuff like that, but or like what's it called? Um, Game of Thrones. Not interested at all, but I like Lord of the Rings. It's cool.
Yeah, I do too. I when I was younger, I got into this book series called Wheel of Time. Have you heard of it?
I have. I never got into it either.
You'll get into it. It's like a 20-year commitment to read all the books. But
Well, then I'm good then.
yeah, but I just like fantasy stuff like that. So
All right, brother. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for reaching out to me. Do you have anything for me?
no, man, I love what you're doing here, and I think I said this before. Like we had a podcast at Team RWB, and for a lot of years, and I know how much work it goes into sitting into the chair. Like it's hard, and I also know what it's like to like you do a podcast and you go back and listen to it later, and you're like, oh man, I sounded like an idiot there. Like I do that. I used to do that to myself all the time. Like I wish I would have said that, or like why do I say every other word and these kinds of things. So I know how hard it is.
I it's this is easy. The me sitting part is easy. I don't think about them at all. I don't worry about anything I said. I'm very I'm very intentional in the things that I say while we record, and I don't won't ever think back on them and go, no, I don't stand by that and things. I did bring that up to a friend of mine who has a very big show, and he goes, man, if you learned that in a month to just not go back and listen to it and just stand by what you said, it takes people years to do that. I went, I don't care. I like it's just me here. It's my message, and I'm not. Why wouldn't I stand behind what I say?
It's
So
less
I
that I
never.
didn't stand behind what I said. It's like I'd listen to it and I'd be like, "Oh man, I wish I would have said this thing."
Oh, we're not historians. We're not. You'll get better and better and better. That's the whole point. Is for me to get better at speaking and things. I don't worry about that. Like, yeah, it's okay.
Have you made any
And we
big
make mistakes.
I was gonna say, have you made any big mistakes? I interviewed someone who is like one of my biggest podcasts ever, and I messed the audio up and
Oh, yeah.
had to go back to that person and ask to redo like with my hat in my hand, asked to redo the podcast. It was quite embarrassing, but
No, that's why in my brief at the top and the bottom of my in brief is check the microphone, because if I don't have the sound, then I don't have a show. But mistakes happen, and I don't. If people have to reschedule, that's no worries at all. We can reschedule another time. I operate on people's goodwill and faith, and that on their timeline. So it's I I'm enjoying it. It is a lot of work, but I've got it to a point where I wouldn't say it's easy, but I feel like I'm getting past the point where I'm dangerous to myself and to others, because you get to a position where you're confident and cocky. I'm starting to get past that to where I'm comfortable. And when we sit down, I can have no notes. I can have lots of notes. I know what I need to prepare for and what I don't need to prepare for. And as long as I'm in the seat, I can do it, and we'll just have a good conversation. And it's all really an extension of the network again. Now you know me and I know you, and you have another person that's hooked into special operations nonprofits, or with the network that I have, it's very, very niche. And Nick might know somebody, and I have another person at Team RWB that I can reach out to if I have somebody that sends your guys' way. So there's it all builds on everything. We all rise together, and that's what I want to do. So it's fun. I don't think the show is the way forward for me, but all of the stuff that is starting to sprout off on the sides is pretty cool, of all the things that are happening, especially with the social media, and hopefully with some job opportunities coming up here soon. So we'll see.
that was in our podcast. A lot of people, I think I told you this, a lot of people are like, why did you guys stop doing it? Because it was very successful. And A, I think we were ready, but B, like the people that I met and the things that I learned about during the course of that was the real benefit. It was the process. It was not the result. Like I met all these really interesting people. I learned about all these things that I wouldn't have known about. And it also it caused in a couple instances it was like, hey, here's this topic that I'm interested in, I don't really know much about. Maybe I can find some person who knows about it and have them on the podcast. And it's gonna be an opportunity for me to learn about something that like I don't know anything about.
Yeah, you get to pick and choose your matter subjects and things that you want to learn about and meet people. And I can reach out to people if I want to meet somebody now, and I can just, hey, let's have a 3-hour conversation and go over some stuff. And now you're part of, we're plugged in together, and hopefully we can work together in the future. So never know what's going to happen tomorrow. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for coming on, brother. Bye, everybody.